Welcome to this special report on C-Soup Radio. Now introducing award-winning investigative reporter Judd McIlvain.
This interview is based on the true stories of the last surviving member of a three-member CIA contract team known as the 231 Club. These three covert soldiers followed orders which sent them around the world to deliver weapons, money, train American allies, and sometimes eliminate its enemies. For the first time ever, a contract killer for the CIA speaks out about his assignments and the loyalty and love he had for his country and his team members. Now, some of the dates and names and places have been changed in order to protect those who were his associates and the family members who are still alive. And his team called him Cowboy because of a nickname he picked up in an Arab country. I understand some of this violence overseas has actually followed you back to Los Angeles, and there was a gun battle in the high desert that you were involved in. In fact, they almost killed you in that.
And at that time, I was doing a lot of lectures, so it wasn't unusual for someone to call and set me up for a lecture. Well, in this particular case, I really was set up. And
it wasn't a lecture?
No. We got a call in. One of the secretaries took the call and set up a lecture for me to speak in front of a group of doctors in Las Vegas. And they asked if I was going to drive, and I always like to drive rather than fly. So they asked me if I could pick up someone in Barstow, which was on the way. So I'd have to go through the desert in order to get there. And I left about 9 o'clock.
You had no idea someone would be waiting in the desert for you?
No. In fact, they weren't waiting. They were following me. After about, 45 minutes to an hour, I kept noticing this car behind me. And it would speed up when I would, and it would slow down when I would. So when I got into the desert past Little Rock, I decided to test it, and I saw a paved road off to the side. So I quickly took the paved road, and sure enough, they're right behind me. So I knew this road was probably just going further and further into the desert. So what I did was I just slammed on the brakes and drove the car into a sandbank and threw it in park. Got out, started to get out as their car had to swerve around me and stopped about, 10, 15 yards ahead of me.
To keep from hitting your car that just
exactly
dove into the bank.
Well, I drove into the bank, and they stopped on the pavement about 10, 15 yards ahead of me.
Now, I'm looking at official Los Angeles County Sheriff's pictures right now. I have in my hand, and your car is full of bullet holes. Yeah, I count 20 more or so.
Well, they said there was about 26 hits in the car. They said they were probably using shotguns with double-aught buck and 44 mag because of the slugs.
I was going to say, those holes up there by that door looked like they'd be 44.
Yeah.
They're not shotgun.
Yeah.
So there must have been a heck of a firefight.
Well, what happened was when they stopped in front of me, I started to get out of the car, and when I saw the doors open and about 4 or 5 guys in the car with guns, I stood up behind my door, which was now open, and started firing shots at them. I fired off a couple of shots into the chest of one of the men in the rear seat, and then I fired a headshot at one in the passenger side as he was getting out.
I'm looking at all the shooting awards that you've gotten and all the trophies. You must be a pretty good shot.
Michael had me join a shooting club in order to hone my skills.
Okay, back to the shootout now. What happened?
Well, as I said, I fired off those shots, and then I started to head back to the rear of the car to get better cover, and then that's when they started firing. I popped up, fired a couple of more shots in their direction, and then took off into the desert, where they kept firing at me.
So you just ran off into the desert. I know the area well, and there's nothing but desert there.
Yeah, especially at that time. Little Rock only had about 4 buildings. Of course, now I think after all these years it has maybe 6. But
that's true.
Well, I took off in the desert, and I'm wearing dress shoes, a dress shirt, and dress pants, so it was pretty cold out there. So I tried to keep warm as well as I could, but I just kept moving back towards what I thought was Little Rock. I didn't get onto the main road because I thought, well, they might be still out there. So I just kept on. And
did you have any idea who these guys were?
No idea.
Now, did you report that? Well, you must have reported to the sheriff's office. I'm looking at the official sheriff's pictures here.
Well, I finally made it back to Little Rock, and the last part of it was through a rock quarry, which I don't suggest anyone try in dress shoes. But I did finally get back, and there was some concern. I had some concern because it was getting pretty hot the next day, and I didn't have any water. So I finally make it back to a little cafe, called the sheriff's department, and they told me they were just about ready to send out a search party because they found my car still running. This is what amazed me. It was still running the next day with the lights still on. When I asked them about did they find anybody, they said no, and I didn't expect that they would.
They didn't even find the two people you hit?
No. Professionals would have taken the car and the bodies, so I didn't expect really for them to find anything. There was a bunch of blood, but I don't know. And we never found out who it was. But it was shortly after I started working with the King of Morocco and started also doing some courier work.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak out and tell us this amazing story. I'm Judd McIlvain, the troubleshooter, and you've been listening to a special report. Thank you again for listening.